One shot to your heart without breaking your skin. Oof. Today we're adding Get It Together by India.Arie to the rotation. Welcome to Soular Rock Radio, where freedom is a frequency. So I first heard of India.Arie on the back end of the soundtrack for Spike Lee's 2000 film, Bamboozled. It was a crazy soundtrack for an even crazier movie that we just don't talk about like we should. But the album had tracks from Angie Stone, Chuck D, Erykah Badu, the Goody Mob, and then legends like Stevie Wonder and Prince. It was put out by Motown, who I always assumed used the opportunity to promote their new artist, India.Arie. But I never seen it done like this. I mean, there were 4 snippets at the end of the album, which were early versions of the songs that would appear on her debut, Acoustic Soul, including the immaculate Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. India.Arie was born in Denver, Colorado, but grew up in Atlanta. She was a member of the Groovement Collective with artists like Donnie, and had built a name for herself around the city. Eventually, Kadar Massenberg signed her to Motown. From jump, she had a distinct identity, the natural, free-spirited sister singing songs of self-love, self-esteem, and healing with little more than an acoustic guitar and a melody. She was a black woman speaking to black women in language so specific that we could all benefit from it. It was a lane she built for herself in a way that no one else was really doing it at the time. I know, it don't sound like anything unique by today's standards. Back when I was a professor, one of the classes I taught was black music, and it was always a challenge to effectively communicate to my students, most of whom were born in the new millennium, a world where black expression was, in many ways, much more limited. In other words, there are things that we take for granted now that were purple cows back in the day. A woman rocking natural hair in public was nowhere near as common, and black emo, clutch my pearls, are you kidding? Never. I mean, even me playing guitar where I grew up put me on the fringes of things. Now, I recognize that I talk about neo-soul quite a bit on this channel. That's because it really did open a door to a world where we could pursue more dynamic forms of expression on our own terms than what was readily presented to us. And I'm not talking about inventing them, but evolving them from the materials that the mainstream had pushed to the sides. The rock and drama of Betty Davis, Parliament Funkadelic, and the Ohio Players led to Erykah Badu, D'Angelo, and Van Hunt, and on to Ari Lennox, Sir, and Steve Lacy. The free and determined soul of Nina Simone and Tracy Chapman laid the ground for India.Arie and Ledisi and opened up the path for Mariba and Umi. Video, Brown Skin, Ready for Love, Little Things, I Am Light, The Truth, There's Hope. Yo, this woman has hits and a message. But for me, Get It Together wraps it all up in one. You know how back in the day, old folks would be like, you don't know nothing about this here young blood. Yo, this song is an example of that. You have to live to hear what she's saying. Oh Lord, what have I become? And now your chest burns and your back aches from 15 years of holding the pain. And now you only have yourself to blame if you continue to live this way. She's telling us that the burdens that we bear are ultimately there because we allow them to be, but not in a victim-blaming sort of way. I think regularly about the opening line from Tony K. Bambara's The Salt Eaters, are you sure, sweetheart, that you want to be well? And sometimes we've become so accustomed to the pain or anger that we don't know ourselves outside of it. Now, India.Arie has spent her career as a doula of well-being, supporting, encouraging, challenging, and calling us to our better selves. I mean, what cuts deeper than a loved one telling you to get it together? Oof. In Soular Rock, healing, like freedom, is an internal affair. Get It Together is calling us to recognize that while our circumstance may not be our fault, it is certainly our responsibility if we want to transform it. But as she sings, the choice is yours. This has been Soular Rock Radio, where freedom is a frequency, and we frequent it frequently. You already know the deal. Be sure to hit the link in the description for the Soular Rock Radio playlist. And while you're down there, go ahead and join the community. It's free and it's fun. Be sure to like, subscribe, and let your friends know that we are building a Soular Rock movement, and I want you to be a part. So until next time, peace.